Hey everybody, it's Lester Martin. Hey, I work over at Starburst. I'm a dev advocate for Starburst and Trino Technologies, and I just want to show you some cool stuff that I've been playing with. So here's a good example. Starburst has added some AI functions into the system, and here's a great example of using really a little bit of a SQL statement. It says, hey, using this particular model, Bedrock Claude 35, what underlying technology does Starburst use? So I'm using an LLM, but from SQL. And the response is appropriate. It's based on Trino, and we do some additional things on top of that, just to kind of get us started that there are some integrations with AIs. But really, I wanted to take a few minutes and show you a little bit about could I build a little bit of a simple RAG workflow in this system? And I think I can via SQL. So here we go. I did another prompt. Hey, does Fred Flintstone like to send and receive mail? Well, as far as we know, not really. Not really something we've seen on the cartoon, if you're familiar with Fred and the whole Flintstones gang. But what if I had a system out here, a system of diary entries? So I'm going to create a table just to kind of set myself up. Diary entries. It has an owner, entry date, and entry text. And there's nothing in that system yet today. But what I could do is add a whole bunch of entries. So this is just a backdrop. Give us a little bit of a test data. So very simply, I added maybe about 13 rows to that system, and then I just said, show me what's in there. Entry dates, entry text. It's the new year. I started to keep a diary, so on and so on and so forth. All right, so that's kind of a backdrop. What we could do now, and usually when we think about RAG systems on the ETL side, we talk about parsing those docs and chunking those docs, and then ultimately creating some embedding. So I've already have it parsed and chunked already, in all fairness. So what I'm going to do is say, hey, when I take that information, I create an embedding. Usually we store that in a vector database. That's what historically in the last 2 or 3 years, we've all been playing with this stuff. Load that. But what I'm going to suggest is we save it lakeside. So what I did is I altered that table and then added a new field called basically my embeddings. It's just an array of doubles. And then I just did one more simple thing. I said, hey, why don't I go look, and for anything in that entries table that this new field is empty, why don't I just basically do what? Generate some embeddings based on the entry text itself. So there we go. And so here we go. It's a new year today. I started doing this good stuff. And then what's the value? Well, it's, as it is, a big multi-dimensional array, a whole bunch of numbers ranging from minus 1 to 1. So there we go. We did an ETL pipeline. Obviously, we're just sketching this together. But what we can now do is start to do that RAG system that I talked about. So I got a quick query here that says, hey, read me that table, the entry text embeddings. Oh, I'm sorry, read me this table right here, the diary entries. And really what I just want is the owner, the entry date, the entry text. And then I'm looking for similar scores based on that question I asked a minute ago. So I'm doing a cosine similarity. This is just a function that Trina already had. It's comparing the freshly generated set of embeddings with the embeddings in the database, and then using a score to kind of rank them and say, give me the best 5. So if I scroll that up a little bit, you'll see there's several in there. And the best ones at the top, the 0.2s, 20, 20, and 19, if you look really closely, if I'm hovering over that one mentions postcards in there. This next one mentions postcards as well. Never really says mail. But it does talk about, oh, there we go. This one says mail. So the first time, the third ranked one that actually has the word mail in it is actually less relevant or less similar than all the other ones. So in other words, the models are smart enough to kind of figure out, hey, postcards, that's mail. It's similar stuff. So that's part of the RAG. Go find me some entries that I can turn around and use in a RAG. So how can I put it all together? Well, I built a little bit longer query. I took that same query right here that would do the retrieval. Find me up to 5 much more tightly similar entries in Fred's diary that align with that question. Does he like to send and receive mail? So I built a little temp table here in my common table expression called vector search. And then I just did another common table expression. Really all I'm doing is looping through that and packaging up as a JSON object. Nothing special there, just to make it look a little pretty. And we call that JSON results. And then finally, we're going to do the augmentation and the generation. So I'm going to package up. I'm going to call that same prompt we called earlier. And then I'm going to do a very poor, simple man's version of some enhanced prompt engineering. I'm going to say, hey, using this list of journal items I'm providing, so I'm concatenating this string with the question that was asked, as well as, hey, give me an output of that JSON object itself. So that's my big request. I'm going to send it off to this Bedrock AI LLM activity and say, tell me what the results are. So let's run all that together. Retrieval, go find similar things, augment that together, and say, hey, tell me if there's a better answer. And if you take a quick look, the answer is a little better. Hey, based on some journal entries, it does look like Fred does enjoy sending mail. He sends postcards. He even says, this really is the hobby for me. All right, well, hopefully that was a little interesting. The mission was just to show you that SQL fits into this AI, Gen AI, RAG world that we're all hearing a lot about. And for a lot of us, that's a probably easier mechanism than maybe doing it with Python, and probably even easier than going and finding those professionals, the AI engineers and the data scientists that are really looking hard at building this next generation of AI apps at your company, your organization, whatever, and letting you start to explore and letting you see if maybe this is something that you can tackle yourself. Thanks again. I'm Lester Martin, and we'll see you next time.